Howdy. 9mm. You may have been hearing about 9mm for a while. What you're looking at in front of you are 9mm. But what is 9mm? Well, today 9mm means 9mm by 19mm, or 9 by 19, or 9mm parabellum. The term parabellum comes from a Latin expression. Comes from the expression "Pasceat tu para bellum," which means if you wish peace, prepare for war. Bellum means war. Anyway, the 9mm parabellum was developed as basically in 1908 as an offshoot from the 30mm Luger cartridge, when Deutsches Waffen- und Munitionenfabriken got a contract with the German army to build Lugers in 9mm. Before that, they were making them in 30mm. They didn't want to, or a caliber 30. I don't know what that would be, 7.62 or so, yeah. But it's 9mm parabellum Lugers were developed for the German army. And this was the first pistol to actually chamber it. This is a Luger. This is a 1955 Beretta. Technically, this is a Egyptian Helwan, which is a Beretta built under contract in Cairo by the Egyptian government. And this is an AT-84. The AT-84 is a Swiss built of Italian Tanfoglio castings of the Czechoslovakian CZ-75, which was the just about the ultimate Czech clone of the Browning High Power. And it's a superb design. It has been copied by so many people. In my opinion, this right here is the best of the best. This is a 1984. No, well, first of all, this is what became known as a Wonder 9, meaning a 9 with about a 13 to 15 round magazine on it, used in its double action, and it was used all through the 1980s and into the 90s. And this was built in 1984. That is the very first 9mm pocket pistol. It's a 9mm Pocket 9 by Detonics of Bellevue, Washington. Now in the middle here, we don't have 9mm parabellum. We have 9mm Corto, or 9mm Kurz, or 9mm short, also known as 380 ACP in America. All three of these are. This is a Spanish-made, licensed copy of the Mauser HSC in 380. And it's a pretty interesting pistol. It's not as good as the original Mauser in 32, in my opinion, but it's a pretty interesting pistol. This is a 1940s vintage, or maybe 1930s vintage, CZ-38, which was developed in Czechoslovakia and was taken over by the Germans after the Czechs were overrun by Germany. And this was used extensively by the soldiers on the Eastern Front. It's a bulky, not very ergonomic 9mm that's a little heavy, but it was considered good enough for an officer's sidearm. Now, on the other hand, in Italy, the 9mm Corto, as they called it, was considered a very good pistol. And Beretta made this in 1934. This is 1934 Beretta, made for the fascist army of Italy, and I forget the date on it. See, when the fascists came into power, excuse me a second while I look at this. Let's see, XV3, so that would be 15, 16, 17, 18. This was made in the 18th year of the fascist era. That was from when the fascist party took over. They changed the calendar in Italy. Anyway, that was in 9mm Kurz, or Corto, as they called it. And it was the standard sidearm of the Italian army all through World War II. So that's the modern 9mm. We also have these two. This is a Spanish Astra 400, and it is in 9mm Largo, also called 9mm Bergmann Bayard. I think it was Bergmann invented the gun and Bayard invented the round. It's a 9x23. These are 9x19. This is 9x23. And it is the standard pistol of the Spanish up through the Spanish Civil War. This is basically a copy in 9mm Largo of the Spanish-designed Campo Giro, as I recall. And it's a fairly nice pistol. Unfortunately, it is, as I said, 9x23, which if loaded up is like a hot 9mm Parabellum. And this is a blowback pistol. By the way, this is also a blowback pistol, and it has two springs in it. So it has it's supposed to absorb a lot of the blowback, but both of these are brutal to shoot because they're blowback. This one has some problems to it and will drop its magazine half the time when you shoot it. By the way, this was made in 1924. I've looked it up. And the last one here is a 1912 Steyr-Hahn. Steyr with hammer. That's what Steyr-Hahn means. As versus a Rothsteyr, which had no hammer. It was a striker fired. The Steyr-Hahn was the standard issued pistol of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And if they're marked Wien on the back, that means they were made in Vienna. If they're marked BP, means they were made in Budapest for the Hungarian side. You don't find very many BP ones over here in America because, well, Hungary sort of went a little bit to the communists after the war later on. Anyway, it's also a 9x23, but it is not 9mm Largo. This is 9mm Steyr. The conical nature of the cartridge is slightly different than 9mm Largo. So you got to get the angles right. By the way, if I'm reloading for these, I use a 9mm Parabellum die to load for both of these. So my 9mm for either is a little bit off from what the standard is. There are a few companies that still make 9mm Steyr and 9mm Largo. I don't know if Fiocchi still has a batch available or not, but you can get them. I think Steinel sells them too. Anyway, there are other 9mm. There's the Italians came up with one called the 9mm Glisenti, which basically is a 9mm Parabellum downloaded. And if you ever see something in 9mm Glisenti, do not shoot it with any 9mm Parabellum ammunition. It is too powerful and it will blow it up. I mean, it's a given. And like I think the very first submachine gun ever developed, the what's the name of it? I'll remember it in a minute. But it was made in 9mm Glisenti by the Italians. It's a double. It was originally developed as an aircraft gun, and was had spade triggers and was double mounted. And I've forgotten the name of it. If you remember the name of the darn thing, put it in the comments because I can't remember it. If I figure it out later, I'll add it to the description. But that's the 9mm Glisenti. There are others. There was a 9mm revolver round that the Japanese had developed. I think the type, I forget, it was the type 30 or something. Their standard revolver used it. But anyway, there are several others in history. But these are the ones that really lasted through the early days of the 20th century. And this one is still with us. This one, to a lesser degree, is also still with us. But these ones, not so much. Anyway, this is just a discussion of 9mm. Some great books on the subject, and if you want some guns, sorry, not one of these is made with plastic. I don't have any Glocks or anything like it. It's just not my cuppa. Anyway, happy trails.